The reality is that the reality is that Regina will one day learn English. The reality is that different times call for different measures, right? And so we want to talk about crafting sensitive webinars. A lot of you, raise your hand in the chat if you have been to some type of webinar training before. You either own a course on webinars, or you can do it, Regina, or you've been to a webinar about webinars. And also, hopefully you can see a poll that just launched as well. Okay, good, and that you can answer. Those of you who have attended webinar trainings before or bought courses on webinars, tell us in the chat if you feel like the approach to selling during those webinars, during the way people train to do it, might be a little too aggressive for this time period. Does my question make sense? So the way that has been taught in the past, or the way you've seen it taught, is it too aggressive for this time period, or do you think it would still work? The approach in those is super aggressive. Yeah, feels a bit crass. I dislike when it's too aggressive. I definitely feel like that. Okay. All right. So that is why we're here today. Especially, okay, too much. More aware of it now. Too aggressive for any time period. Agreed sometimes. Okay, great. So then you should also see a chat. A chat is not what I was trying to say, a poll. It's just asking what type of product or service you're going to be pitching on your sensitive webinar. So I see a lot of most people are saying an online bootcamp or course. Is that what you're seeing as well, Ali? We got, next up is a DWI service, right?
It's a full half, yeah, doing online bootcamp or service. Next biggest, well, actually, DW, done with you service, coaching or consulting, followed by perhaps a book, a guide of some sort, a workbook or ebook.
Oh, nice. Okay, this is going to be great. Okay, we'll give you just a couple more seconds with that poll. That's really cool. That feedback is awesome. It's good to know. And super interesting that over half, 56% of people now are saying an online bootcamp or course. We are partial to those, and also to ebooks, and really actually all of it. We like all of it. So, and all of these things are a good fit for sensitive webinars. Okay, perfect. All right, we're gonna end that. We have some other questions that we'll ask you guys. Y'all, oh, can you do that? Let me see, share results. Attendees are now viewing poll results, it tells me. Okay, y'all can see that? Okay, so we ended with 54% saying online bootcamp or course. Don't touch your face, I know. Okay, and then next up, DWI. Okay, perfect. And then hold on, this should let me change that. All right, so here's what we're doing today. As we said, different times call for different measures. We are going to talk about choosing whether or not to just tweak your current offer, what you're selling, or completely overhaul your offer. Then we're going to talk about choosing whether to just modify your webinar or completely rethink your approach to webinars during this time. If you are going to just modify the webinar, right, we have some suggestions of stuff you might want to add to your webinar. If you decide to completely rethink how you do webinars, we're going to have a layout in order. I mean, you can switch things around, but in order of how we would approach a sensitive webinar during this time. It's one of 3 formats, if you will, that we recommend. So anyway, so then we're going to go over formulas to help name your webinar. It may actually end up being the title, or actually maybe even the subtitle of your webinar, depending on how you use the formula. During that portion, we're going to share some formulas with you, kind of workshop and explain them a little bit, workshop with them, explain them, and then we're going to break you into smaller groups so that you can work for a few minutes. When you get back from the groups, we're going to have our giveaway. Then we're going to cover that flow of a sensitive webinar, the one of 3 types that we were talking about. And then lastly, we'll share how and where you can get help, lessons, support, all the good stuff related to getting people to your webinar, your sales webinar, and then also selling your online bootcamp workshop even outside of a sales webinar. So, all right, it's going to be fun. Really, really happy about it. The first thing we're talking about is making the offer itself, the thing that you're selling, more sensitive. And specifically, what we're going to recommend is that you don't just change the framing of the offer. The frame is kind of like the why, here's how you can use this kind of thing. We're going to consider changing a lot more than that. I'll come back to this slide in just a second, but the risk of not changing the offer itself, um, and just changing the frame. So like, I'm going to leave my program and service or whatever pretty much the same, but I'm just going to start to market it differently. The risk that you run is you may be the chef that's selling a course or a cookbook or a program that requires rare and expensive ingredients, or stuff that's not rare, not expensive, but people just can't get it right now, right, during these times. You may be the personal trainer who is selling a program that has exercises that require equipment that only exists in people's gyms, which they can't go to right now, or equipment that they could have gotten at home, but they don't have it at home already, and it will take 2 months to ship to them, right? Or you're going to be the business coach still telling people, create high ticket offers, that's the only way to go. These people who sell low cost things are joking around with their lives. You have to charge at least 5,000, you have to charge at least 2,000. And they're telling these people these things, still not even realizing that their clients are going to be less likely to be able to sell those high ticket offers. Or you're going to be the person giving tips for how to network in person, right? How to read people's body language in person, or whatever it might be that your course is. And it's like, what do you mean in person? My puppy, my partner, my kid. Or you might even be that person who, used to teach parents how they could add really cool stuff to their, supplement what your kids are learning in school with these materials. That's great, super applicable right now. But here's the deal. Parents are the school right now for a lot of parents, right? They are the school. So it's not supplement what's happening at school. I am school. School is me. You know what I mean? So just think about that, right? Are you just trying to change the frame, but there might still be things inside your offer that are just like, what? Oh my gosh, so sick of people still saying not to lower prices and keep the price at what you are worth. People are saying that right now. Oh my gosh, I have feelings on that. Which brings me to my next, oh my gosh, hold on, let's see if I can do it, Allie. We have another quick question. All right, so let me explain this question here. Oh, go ahead, Allie.
Never mind. I was going to share
Okay.
results from the previous one, but we're good.
Okay, cool. So question here. Are most people in your industry still selling the same offers? And are they selling them in the same way? Yes, people are selling the same offers. They're selling them the same way. Yeah, they're selling in the same offers, but I see them selling them in new ways. I see people selling different offers in the exact same ways they used to sell. Hardcore ads, webinar, whatever it used to be how they sell. Or are you seeing people sell different, more sensitive offers in different ways? Or are you, I have no idea what people in my industry are doing. Okay, we'll give you just a few seconds to answer that. I'm going to check in on the chat.
Lydia says same offers, same or a similar way, but also capitalizing on crisis and fear. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference with acknowledging what people are going through and wanting to help people through things versus capitalizing on it.
Mia says the only change is that they're mentioning what's going on, but there's no difference. Huh. Husband. Some people.
Elizabeth has a unique situation because she was already breaking into online teaching of ballet, and suddenly the market is flooded with people trying to do that as well.
Interesting. Yeah. They seem to be core people who seem to be oblivious of the situation. It's like, where have y'all been? I literally was thinking about that the other day. Like, what if somebody was like at a silent yoga retreat or like something where they were not connected to social media for like a couple weeks, and then like they came back to this world? Oh my gosh, like that would be crazy. But in real life, most people are aware of the situation. Okay, yeah, okay. All right, so I'll end the poll here. Let's see here. So we have 20% 27% said they're selling the same offers, but they're selling them in new ways. And then up next was 24% said same offers, same ways. So that's over half of the people, half of you are saying your competitors or people in your industry are selling the same offer. And then we had 20% saying there are different, more sensitive offers, and they're selling them in different ways. And then 19% saying different offers, same sales tactics or same ways to sell. Okay, that's very interesting. Wait, hold on. Allie, if I messed that up, can you, oh wait, hold on. I know how to do it. There we go. Okay, bueno. So let's talk about making the offer itself more sensitive. So we're talking about not just changing the framing. Basically, what we mean by that in this instance is not just changing the marketing of it, but consider changing the goal of the offer. Is what the goal of the offer, is it important right now? And then more importantly, is there something that is more meaningful considering your customer's current environment? Let's talk about that phrase, your customer's current environment. So I would say in general, one of the things that Allie and I try, we don't always get this correct, as I'm sure, everyone makes mistakes and doesn't land on this perfectly, but we try very hard to acknowledge our customer's current environment at any given time. So for us, that typically means, even before all of this, that typically means, our customers are conscious of what they're spending their time and money on, right? They are people who are self-aware enough to understand, the concept of protecting their energy, so to speak, right? And wanting to be around like-minded, positive people, wanting to have support and, a peaceful environment as they build towards something important, and not necessarily being in the place where they, want to risk thousands of dollars on their idea in its current stage. Now, in general, right, everyone who's building an audience online, you're going to have some outliers. You're going to maybe have different pockets of people, but in general, we, acknowledge that our customer's current environment at any given time, right, is aware of and purposeful about what they're spending not only their money on, but also their time on. So it's not just an issue of, well, I have disposable funds, so it doesn't matter if I buy this thing and never get use of it. That could be the case, but it's a person who's, I'm wanting to invest in things that I actually use, that I can get a good return on my time investment for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So we're generally always trying to think about their environment, even when something massive isn't going on in the whole entire world, right? But then add those things, right? So not only the customer's personal environment, if you are somebody who is selling something for new moms, what's the environment and the mindset and the day-to-day life of a new mom, new dad, whoever, versus somebody who had, kids 5 years ago, or somebody who does not have kids, right? So you're thinking about their personal environment, but then you're expanding that. Okay, well, what kind of support system do they have at home, at their job, and then expanding that, what's going on in the world, right? And obviously right now, for the most part, there's something going on that almost no one can ignore. I won't say no one, but almost no one can ignore what's going on. So what is the customer's overall current environment? Does that question and the way we're wording that make sense? That is so cool. Let's see here, just looking at some of the chat. Okay, so the goal of the offer, is it important right now, and is there something more meaningful considering your customer's current environment? So for example, we have someone that we love in the audience who works with people who are starting a home garden, which is super cool, right? So if you have land, if you have the space, it's so cool to maybe start gardening and creating your own crops and planning for, or growing some of your own food and planning for, future seasons right now. And that's important, yes. maybe a more meaningful offer right now would be something like, hey, here's how you can actually start, growing your own, how are those things called? Herbs. I know English. Growing your own herbs and, small plants on your balcony. If you just have an apartment and have a balcony. If you don't have a balcony and you just have a windowsill with good light, you can actually grow the following herbs, which will, cost you 30 cents, but also allow you to flavor your, I call it my struggle meals, of just, does this can of beans and this can of other beans combine together to make delicious chili somehow, please? So you can flavor your struggle meals, right? Could they do something like that, right? Where it is still in the same vein, like I help you, but I'm no longer gonna be talking about crops that take 6 months. Y'all can tell I don't do any gardening stuff. I'm not gonna talk about crops and a plan that takes 6 months to enact and I'm gonna talk about what can you be growing right now, that within a couple days, couple weeks is gonna be able to flavor your food better, or what are vegetables and things that you can actually grow on your balcony or in your home, so it's actually a part of your food. And then also, where do you get seeds and stuff like that right now? What are the differences between, growing on your balcony and Does that make sense, right? So that might be, hey, listen, I still teach the same thing, but for right now, for my customer's current environment, I'm going to sell a weekend boot camp or a new kind of ebook that's specific to this thing. And I'm not going to sell this plan ahead and in 6 months you'll have a great, who cares? Who cares about 6 months? Tell me about next week. Tell me about later today, right? Anyway, you guys get the point. Don't just change the frame. Consider changing the content. Again, have you just adjusted for their environment? And as we said, don't be that guy, that gal on the next slide, right? And we already went through these. So have you adjusted for their environment? Timing. And there are actually two ways that this can go. You can actually highlight it in our current environment, highlight the quickness of it, right? This is something you can do in a weekend. This is something you can do in a week. With just 2 hours of work, you should be able to do this, whatever, right? Highlight that. Or you might actually highlight the fact that, listen, or change what you might have had stuff that was more focused on, like, here's something you can implement in a week, a month, etc. But during this current environment, you might actually take the time to offer something that's like, it requires a slow build, right? Like, hey, friends, it's a good time to be working on X because it's something that has a steep learning curve anyway. It's something that anyway. So it's a really great time to be building it. So those of you who
Like
teach
the
like
slow
SEO,
down and the deeper dive type thing. So depending on your messaging, right? Quick and pivot versus you have the time, let's focus. It just
yeah,
depends on your offer and your audience. Both can be sensitive.
Yeah, agreed. Exactly. Way better way of wording it. Next up is format, right? Where and how are they going to access what you're teaching, what you're doing, what you're helping them with? And can you take the time to make everything more accessible? Meaning, is there an audio version of this thing? Does everyone have the same bandwidth internet, right? And so therefore, if all of your videos are these high def, super, oh my gosh, amazing, blah, 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 ooh, super cool, can everybody even access those, right? Is it something that they can read instead of watch? Is it something that they can listen to instead of watch or read, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? You'll get that. Community. Does the current environment your customer exists in, or even your offer and content, just go better with support? And support can mean so many things, but at the bare minimum, it might mean they're in an online community where they can log in and chat with people, and you have some kind of live thing that's happening, whether it's chats that happen at specific times and it's still text-based, or it's using tools like Zoom or Uber Conference to create an actual audio chat where people can hear, they can dial in or they can hear each other's voices by using computer audio, or even video chat like we're on right now. As you can see with Zoom, you can turn your camera on or off, and it's just kind of interesting to see other people's faces, see kids pop into the screen, see a puppy every so often, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Price. Do you just lower the price on the thing you already have? Or do you say, okay, this thing I have is good, but let's just cut these features that are making me make it more expensive. And now I'll have like a reduced version that is now, because it's reduced, less expensive. Do you offer better payment plans? If you didn't have a payment plan before, do you introduce a payment plan? If you're worried, well, somebody's just going to make one payment and then stop paying, okay, let me ask you, what's the real cost if that happens, right? If the person only makes one payment or only makes two payments and stops paying, has it cost you that much to have that happen? If it does, if you're like, I could not accept somebody just making one payment, even if everyone else, okay, all right, that's fine. Can you then drip the content out, right? So that they get some stuff that they can get in there and get momentum with, but they're only unlocking additional features as the months roll by or as the weeks roll by, as their payments come out. I will say with that is normally something that works fairly well. If you're in the current environment, I think withholding content from people for the purposes of letting these payments go through is not maybe necessarily the most sensitive approach, because most people are kind of like, well, I want to do the things now, right? I need to do them now. I have more time to focus now, or I don't really have more time, but heck, like I want to enjoy my life more, change this bad pain point thing more, and I want to do it now. And so if you're telling me I'm not going to get module 3 until 60 days from now, that's not as motivating. Okay, so just acknowledging that, yes, it could be an option to drip out content later to adjust for the payment plan, but is it actually serving the customer best, and what are you actually losing if they are only able to make 1 or 2 payments for now? And then another thing on that note, and actually, hold on, Allie, I'm just gonna make sure I'm hardwired in real quick. Will you?
Okay.
Yes, entertain us for just a second.
I love entertaining everybody. Okay, so we'll also talk about a giveaway. So we're getting to the point where we're going to ask if there's anybody who, for any reason, might not want to participate, and offer it. If you're not interested in participating in the giveaway for any reason, DM or send a private message here through the chat to Regina or me, and we'll make a note of it.
Yeah, definitely, because we're gonna pick a name at random from everyone who's here for the giveaway. So as Allie said, you can just send a private message to Allie or myself if you're like, hey, I don't need to be included for some reason. Okay.
Within the next 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, because it's coming up. And then lastly, your availability. If you're not too busy, if you do find that more of your time is freed up, or if you find, hey, now this is the only offer I'm selling, I used to be running this and that many programs, but I'm only going to be doing this or these 2 things for now, maybe you have a little more time, or your schedule has adjusted so you can more be able to commit to a specific time each week or something like that. If you're not too busy, maybe you add more of yourself into the offer. Allie and I like to do something that we call small pod coaching calls. And basically, just depending on the purpose of the call. So we might be selling like a program or a course, right? But then in addition to that, we have these small pod calls that people can register for. So we use Acuity Scheduling, which was purchased by Squarespace. So probably going to be called Squarespace Scheduling any moment here. But anyway, we use Squarespace Acuity Scheduling, and it lets us set up something called a class as opposed to a one-on-one appointment. When we set up a class, that allows you to limit the number of people in that class to something above the number 1. So you could say tops 5 people, tops 10 people, tops 30 people. So it depends on what you consider a small group and what the purpose of the thing is. When we want to create a small pod call where every person in attendance gets a chance to talk for a significant amount of time, we might limit that small pod call to 5 or 6 people, if that makes sense. And so When that happens, we're able to set these times during a given week or month that these small pod calls can happen. The individual people can log on, see which time they want, reserve it, fill out a few questions in our form so that we can prep for the call ahead of time. And then as soon as it hits 4 people, 5 people, 10 people, whatever it is, it cuts it off and that time is no longer shown and people would have to choose from one of the other available times. So if you're not too busy, maybe in addition to the book that you sold, the course, the boot camp, you could have a week where you have small pod calls and you're going to learn so much by talking directly to your customers. I'm sure many of you have that experience. So yes, I know, right? Does Zoom, that's not the name of it, even though Zoom is amazing. Terry, Acuity scheduling is amazing. And you can
So you can ask, you can create forms and questions, and then you can duplicate those forms so that you don't have to recreate the wheel, which can be exhausting for different types of questions. So that way you can be prepared before your small pod, get to know their material. You can review all their links. It's a great way. And also Calendly, I believe, and some other tools offer that as well. Acuity is just what we use.
Yeah, exactly. And both of those integrate with Zoom, and you can wait for it, take payments too. So with Acuity, we have it set up to where the person can choose to pay with their credit card or with PayPal. The last time I used Calendly, and this may be different, you could only choose one. Like you, the creator of the appointment, could only offer one at a time. You couldn't offer the person the ability to choose the last time I used it. But with Acuity, I know we can offer you, do you want to pay with your card or do you want to pay with your with PayPal, which I like. And that way, if you're not creating these small pod calls in as a bonus, as an included thing with a program that you've created, you can offer these small pod calls as a product, which Allie and I have done. I mean, it just depends on the pricing, right? And we haven't done these during this current time frame environment, but I believe that we've done them for from anywhere from like $18 all the way up to $100 or maybe a little bit more, depending on how many people we were limiting the room size to and what we were covering. Yes, perfect. I like both Acuity and Calendly. I like the integrations and the way Acuity functions just a little bit better. I typically have liked the design of Calendly better, but I will say now that Squarespace purchased Acuity scheduling, I am assuming that they're going to update the design. Please, and hopefully, but it's not terrible. I just had always liked the design of Calendly better. So once you have now made the offer itself more sensitive, then maybe change the framing, right? Then change the way you're marketing it by highlighting a different why, highlighting different benefits of doing the thing that you're asking people to do inside your product or helping people do inside your product. Highlight different opportunities, right? Like, this current environment is challenging, and we have to acknowledge that for some people it's going to be the worst time in their lives, the absolutely worst time, right? Outside of that, this time period is offering certain types of people a very interesting opportunity. And so if you want to highlight that, again, I recommend being sensitive. For me, this is like zero judgment, I promise. I have been able to and in that sense laugh at some of the memes that my friends have been posting on social media. I myself have not personally been able to post any memes because I just realized that for somebody, they've lost a lot, and it might not be funny, and that thought just like prevents me from posting anything. That's also why I couldn't be one of these hilarious stand-up comedians, because they joke about things and I'm like, too soon, brother, too soon. But the audience is like laughing at them and having the best time of their lives, right? So again, this is just it's just a slight difference, and I'm not judging it, but I will say, right, when you're marketing and maybe even spending money on ads, you might want to kind of acknowledge that and maybe not make super light of it, and also frame the opportunity in this time sensitively again. And this is just an opinion piece. Exactly, you never know what a person's situation is. So anyway, okay, yes, all right, moving on. Y'all get the point. Y'all are smarter than I am. All right, so we talked about number one. Are you going to just tweak your offer a little bit, or tweak the way you frame your offer, or are you going to completely change the offer by making it, a more sensitive offer? And now we're talking, okay, are you going to modify and tweak your current webinar, or the webinar that you had planned in your mind, or are you going to completely rethink how webinars can be done? And so in a sec, we're going to dive into the format of a sensitive webinar, one of the 3 that we recommend. But if you're going to just add some elements that make your webinar a little more sensitive, consider the following. Consider adding interactivity, better interactivity, right? Polls that engage people, and questions, right, on screen that you share, and that you have people come off of mute and answer, depending on the size of the room. If you have a larger room like this, maybe answer in the chat, right? And then actually engage with the answers, so that people are going, okay, my opinion counts. Someone in the world somewhere is listening to me, right? Are you going to do a more live chat? The basics of chat would be the ability to make comments, moving up from that, it might be using a platform that lets people make comments and it shows their profile picture next to them, like such as is available on Facebook and different webinar platforms. And then the next level up might be actually allowing people to unmute themselves, or having people on screen such that, like we are here, right, such that when somebody types in a comment, you can actually go look and be like, oh, okay, that's Janelle who just said that, right? So there are levels, if you will, to your chat. So anyway, better interactivity, polls, seeing people on screen, live chat, the levels of chat, etc. Community elements built in. If you've never been a part of a breakout room, you'll be a part of one in just a couple minutes here. After hours sessions, that is a fun one that Ali and I do sometimes. And Ali, if you don't mind, will you explain how we do like a main session and then the optional after hours sessions, or co-working?
We have a lot of information and we love teaching live. So we do the lock-ins, and before we even do them, we organize what's the critical information that someone needs to leave the session with and accomplish, go forth and be great, right? But then there's a lot of discussion that you might happen in an online, like an in-person environment, like if you're in college, like you're hanging out with your peers after hours. So that's the part that we may or may not record afterward. We invite people. You have lives, you have kids and perhaps and families to go take care of. But if you want to hang out all day, like afterwards, come to this 1 to 3 hour session. Hopefully not 3, but sometimes it is. Or we're going to come and we're going to break down something a little deeper. It's like a fireside chat where you can just kind of dive into that content and get your more Q&A. So we do like the after hours, but we don't always offer them so that you guys can feel like you don't have to attend.
Yeah, definitely. I think after hours, and you might have said this, sorry, I was paying attention to the chat, but I think after hours kind of allow the people who wanted to stick around and do more at that time, but it allows people who are like, I kind of only had an hour, I kind of only had to drop off without, feeling like they left early, right? So it's like literally this session is ending and here's a new link for this special after hours session or whatever. Co-working elements, we like to add co-working to our communities and products where it's literally, if you've done more than a few things with us, you've probably been to one of our co-working sessions where it's literally 25 minutes silent. We'll run a timer, 25 minutes silent. Everyone's working on their own thing. And then we'll take 5-minute breaks where you can come off of mute and go, I finally finished my sales page, or I was not productive at all during that session. For some reason, I got distracted by blank, but I'm going to get on at the next one. And so then we'll do a few rounds of 25 minutes silent, 5 minutes taking a break. And you don't have to come off mute. You can just keep working or laugh at our ridiculousness or whatever. So that's co-working. Checkpoints throughout the webinar. So again, we're going over a list of things that you could add if you just want to make the webinar more sensitive, more fitting for the current environment, or yeah, just more engaging. So checkpoints throughout the webinar, this might be questions that you ask people. It could be something as simple as stopping to say, hey, like, did what I just said make sense? Or hey, you know, we just went over XYZ, and my question for you is, if you were to implement this right now, how would you go about it? And that's a way for you to check comprehension, so you can go back and correct any of your own kind of, oh, well, I could have explained that better. You can correct them live and give people a better experience live. I would say just in general, right, because of the environment that we're in, everything doesn't have to be so rushy microwave society, right? Is kind of how I refer to it. I'm sure somebody else has said that in life before I did. But anyway, you know, where it's just like, we want things to be instant, we want them to be now. I think your webinar could be a little more chill. You could talk a little more slowly. You can stop and ask questions for comprehension. You can pause, et cetera, okay? You can also do this with progress bars, which, like, you know, sometimes, like if I'm doing a longer master class, or I've seen, you know, Allie, when we do our longer master classes, you do this too. It's like, it may be down at the bottom of the screen or on the side, you know, it shows all 8 points or all 10 sections, and the ones that you've already done are grayed out, and the one that you're on is bold, and then the ones that are yet to come are a different color or style, right? So somebody's drawing on the screen again, Allie. So yeah, you might do progress bars just so that people have something to focus in on. And then every few minutes, right, you might have this progress bar showing on only the title section slides or something like that. It reminds you to go, okay, so we've already talked about this, and then we talked about how to do this. Now we're going to get into blank, and don't forget, we're going to also do blank and blank, right? So even the progress bars, or going, all right, so far we have planned your blank and your blank. Okay, so that means that right now, you know, if you're all caught up, you should be da 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 da, and here's where we're gonna, so what we've done so far, progress bar, stuff like that. Okay, next thing is tangible and like literal, actual, mean this word, sort of, kind of tangible takeaways. Do they get to download your slide deck before, during, or after the presentation? Do they leave with a robust checklist? Do you have a section of the class that is small group coaching kind of feel, and there's an actual prescription related? Maybe you even gave them a PDF, a single, you know, sheet. This is not it, but it's a single sheet ahead of time that they were supposed to print out, and it had specific sections, you know, pre-labeled, so they knew what to fill everything out with. And so there was a little group coaching moment, and then they left with their particular, again, prescription. Okay, you guys get the point. And then build in rewards and fun wherever possible. The giveaways don't have to be of, you know, a massive, I mean, you could, hey, if you want to. It doesn't have to be a computer that you're giving away. It could be something smaller. It could be a starter seed kit, right? Or whatever it is, depending on what you teach and what you do. Giveaways, a bonus for staying until the end. Do they get to download your case study? Do they get, you know, private access to the after hours session where they can ask questions live? Are you doing like a virtual speakeasy where everyone can mix their own, you know, favorite, maybe you have a favorite non-alcoholic beverage list that, you know, or recipes that you suggest, or whatever, you know, coffee hacks, modifications, or whatever, and so you host like this like cool speakeasy session. I don't know why I even said that. That doesn't even make sense, but I've done something similar before, so I don't know why I said it doesn't make sense. But anyway, you guys get the point. I will sort of kind of stop rambling. All right, so now we are going to use some formulas and break into our breakout rooms. All right, so hold on, let me just pull this up. And okay, we're gonna have so many good comments to read during the breakout rooms in the chat. Allie, well, you've probably been reading them. Okay, So use one of the formulas below here to draft a name or perhaps what will become just the subtitle for your sensitive webinar, okay? So we'll explain these in just a second, but note that in a second, what we're gonna do is break you into smaller groups. So right now we have, 105 people in the room. We're gonna break into smaller groups of just a few people each room so that you can quickly introduce yourselves and what you do, and then you're going to spend a few minutes silently co-working, and you're going to draft your webinar topic and title. What would your webinar cover, therefore, and you know, what's the suggested title based on these formulas or something else you want to do, and what would your webinar cover? And then you're going to spend the last 3 minutes while you're in the breakout room sharing what you came up with out loud. So when you go into the breakout room, you're not being recorded. You can turn on your camera if it's not already on. You can just turn on your microphone if you don't want to turn on your camera, or you can type in the chat if you don't want to do either of those things. Boom. Okay. The breakout rooms are not being recorded, so feel free, again, camera, come off mute, say whatever you want, chat, whatever, okay? But let's talk about these formulas real quick, okay? These are ideas for how you can frame a sensitive webinar. So the first one is 5 signs you blank, and how to blank without blank. I'll explain. So this might be something like 5 signs it's time to plant your own herbs. I don't know. No, that's a bad example. 5 signs it's time to, for example, launch and sell your first online boot camp. Actually, I think Ali and I literally sent that earlier today. And then you want to kind of follow it up with something, right? And how to get it done in 3 days without using expensive tech or something like that, right? And how to 5 signs it's time to start blank, you know, and how to, or 5 signs it's time to become a blank, and how to get started without blank, right? So the key things that you want to do here in this particular title or subtitle is hit on something that people are already interested in. 5 signs it's time to launch and sell your first online boot camp. 5 signs it's time to finally write your screenplay. You know, five ways that you can know it's time to blank, whatever. But 5 signs, it just sounds just interesting, right? And then the second part of this title or subtitle, you're wanting to kind of speak to the tangible things that people are going to leave with, like, and how to get started, or how to do it in 3 days, how to you know, market your first screenplay, whatever, without, and then now something we want to avoid, right? We want to avoid expensive tech or software being necessary during this time frame. We want to avoid long time periods for getting something done for the most part. We want to avoid something that is going to require us to leave our homes in order to get it done, right? Et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense? So 5 signs you are really, you're cut out for online coaching and how to get started without blank. 5 signs it's time to blank. Does that make sense so far? Hopefully. The next one is 4 ways using blank can revolutionize, can transform, can something awesome your blank, even if blank. So this might 4 ways, and it doesn't have to be using, it can be whatever, you know, 4 ways. So there's this movement called unschooling. I won't get into explaining it right now, but for unschoolers, they might be something like 4 ways unschooling can revolutionize your child's education, especially if you're not a teacher, or even if you're limited on time, or even if, you know, you still have to work from, you know, be doing your job or something like this, right? So 4 ways doing this, using this thing, this noun, this software, this tool, launching your own boot camp, whatever it might be, and then can blank some positive word, your blank, your budget, your productivity, your children's education, your blank, even if blank, hey, even if you are stuck at home for the next 3 months, even if da 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 da. Does that make sense too? Hopefully. 10 ideas for blank in a week or less. So this is playing to the time frame of it. And getting people, so based on the environment, getting people excited based on that time frame, right? So for example, Ali and I had an ebook some time ago, and this could have been a web, and actually I think we did, maybe I can't remember if we did it as a webinar as well, but it happened to be an ebook, and it was like 16 ideas to help you scale your business that you can put into place this weekend. Way better title did we actually have to it. I don't know if you remember it, Ali, but
I love that one. Yeah. 16 things you can do this weekend to scale your business or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So 10 ideas for blank that you can implement in a week or less. You know, five craft ideas, and trust me, you already have all the ingredients you need that you can give to your kids tomorrow or something like that, right? And so that, I mean, again, this could be the subtitle, or it could be the actual title of the webinar, and this could be a short webinar, or it could be a longer webinar. What to do when blank, so something negative has happened, or there's been a shift or whatever, to still blank. You still want to cook all your meals at home. Well, you have to. You still want to grow this, do this, increase this. You still want to keep up with your, you know, health and wellness goals, but you are at home and you don't have access to the gym anymore, or you don't have access to all the different. Go ahead. Did you have an idea?
In general, also, we're focusing on concrete, practical things. Maybe you deal with emotions in inner transformation, but still try to find a way to make it concrete now, like to put practice, your morning routine, to practice, not just so you can feel better. So you can feel, we try to get in their head and give them practices that they'll want to show up and learn something they can put into place immediately.
Yeah. And then the last one being X essential tools for blank when blank. And it doesn't have to be tools, it can be something else, but like, let's say, 3 essential tools for publishing, for self-publishing your own book when your budget's tight, or something like that. And you can word it in a more nice way, whatever. Let's say 5 irreplaceable strategies for marketing your handmade business when, shipping times are going to be, reduced or increased by 3 weeks, whatever it might be, right? Like, you guys get the point. So when you're adding little qualifiers like without blank, even if blank, you still want to blank when blank, it is giving you the space to acknowledge the current environment, the current concern, the worry, the thing that is keeping the person up at night, or is just circulating in their head every so often, right? It's giving you the space to do that, okay? And so keep in mind, if you come up with something super long, maybe you're just gonna make it the subtitle, or you're gonna break it into a title and a subtitle, or maybe this will be just the actual full out name of your webinar, or maybe as you play it out, you're going to come up with 18 great names, and you're like, you know what, I'll just do these as live streams on Facebook, on Instagram. These don't have, or YouTube, whatever, these don't, or LinkedIn, these don't have to be straight up webinars, okay? So what we're going to do, probably want to take a screenshot of this screen. Oh, you know what I'll do is I'll paste these into the chat too. You'll probably want to take a screenshot of this screen, because we're going to break you into the breakout rooms now. Love these formulas. Thank you. Oh my gosh, Lydia, I cannot stand how amazing you are. I know what that is without even clicking on it. I cannot stand how awesome she is. I'm done with you. And I mean that in a great way. Okay, so use those formulas in the breakout room. Now keep in mind the following structure. For the first 2 minutes, please just introduce everyone in the room introduce yourself and what you do. Then you're going to spend the majority of the 10 minutes, so let's just do math. You're going to spend about 5 minutes workshopping with these titles silently, coming up with some ideas, and then 3 minutes sharing what you came up with. So we're breaking down the 10 minutes by 2 introducing yourself, 5 working silently, and hopefully this math adds up, and then 3 sharing what you came up with. Okay, so it should be pulling everyone back. And now we are going to randomly select from all participants, minus the people who have indicated they don't want to be a part of the giveaway. We're going to select a winner of the giveaway.
Let's give it 1 more minute because people are still, or 30 seconds, people are still trickling in here. Okay.
Yeah. And while we're doing that, oh, thank you. So Terry says, I love how you are demonstrating all what you're teaching. While we're kind of waiting on that, y'all tell me the very meta. I know though, right? It's very it's Inception. Do these things in a sensitive webinar. All the things. Okay. Anyway, can y'all tell us about? You can type it in the chat. Love this. Thank you. Did you find benefit and fun in the breakout rooms? Love the chat rooms. Good group, says Cheryl. It was nice to virtually meet you, says Michelle, talking to her roommates. So much benefit in breakout rooms, says Tamika. Yes, it was good. So fun. Nice. Interesting hearing others. Love this. Good. Ooh, it was useful seeing what resonated and what didn't. Okay, nice. All right, so now that everyone is back, Allie is going to be getting us a winner for the giveaway, minus those of you who said you did not want to be included for whatever reason. Love that. Totally useful and fun to connect with others face to face. I know, right? And then I will start sharing the screen again, but have no fear, Allie is getting us our winner selected at random. To your question, Veronica, how does one private message? So when you have the chat pulled up, instead of it saying to everyone, you can actually click on that little down arrow and select the one person that you want to message. Everyone should see that. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. As far as private messaging. Oh, you see that, okay. The random generator that we use, Katie, is actually random.org, I think. And so what it allows you to do is, like, there are a certain number of people in the room, and Zoom will put everyone in a specific order in our screen, in our view. And so then you can say one of 83 people, or whatever the number is, in random.org, and then it'll say a number, 33, and then you can choose the 33rd. 33rd? Did y'all hear that? I said that. 33rd. Okay. So, okay, cool. And Allie, can you let me know, you'll have to come off mute because I can't see you. Can you let me know if we're back on slide number 3? And
yeah.
Okay,
we're
great.
Back on our titles. Okay,
great. All right. So, cool. We did a giveaway. Fun. And there's more. First of all, there's a flow of a sensitive webinar, and don't worry, you can totally take a screenshot, but you will also get this you'll get a copy of the slide deck. I can speak English. And each of these indicates either a slide by itself or an action, or when it's probably multiple slides, like teaching either a quarter of your content or a third of your content, it's kind of a chunk of slides. So we'll go through this and we'll explain, okay? Flow of a sensitive webinar. First up is to let people know ahead of time that you'll be offering something. So whether this is on the landing page where they sign up for your free webinar, or this is via email to your group, to your email list, letting them know you're going to be offering something. This is just, and this is optional. Everything on this page is optional. But something that we highly recommend. So letting people know ahead of time that you're going to be offering something, and then if possible, even giving them the sales page or sales document where they can review what you'll be offering so that they have more time to sit on it. When we have the current environment that we all exist in, whether you're asking people for 20 $500 for some reason, or a few $100 or 100 or under, you just generally maybe want to give them a little more time to sit with that. If you are like, hey, I do want to let people know I'm offering something, but I don't want to let them know all the details about it, that's fine, do that. Or if you're like, hey, I want people to know all the details, but I don't want the price to be revealed until I'm able to reveal it live, then okay, cool. Make a second version of your sales page or a second version of your sales document that shows all the features and all, benefits, everything that's included with your product or service, but let people know that you'll be telling them how to join and what the investment is on the webinar. Or go the option of let them know everything about it and also let them see the special price. So you'll notice, since you got the email from us earlier today, which is why you're here, you'll notice in our, well, maybe you didn't read that far because sometimes that Regina girl writes really long emails, but anyway, there was a portion of the email where you could actually access a document that showed you all the features of the program and also even let you click and see the price and join if you wanted to. And it's something that we've been selling for a few days now, so you'll be joining 100 castmates or whatever that are already in there. I don't know why I just made us on the cast of a show, but anyway, you were able to see that ahead of time. So hopefully that makes sense. Second thing is, now we're in, and actually let me do this not bold, because that happens before the webinar and everything else is in the webinar for the most part. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do when we, probably in the email, in the ad, on the landing page, but definitely even when you get on to the actual webinar itself, is to acknowledge the current environment. I joined 2 days ago, so excited for the program. Yay, okay. I love the long emails, I'm so glad, because I writes them. Anyway, back to this, I can focus. Acknowledge the environment. Yes or no, if you agree, brands that are not acknowledging what we have going on are doing so at their own, it's not, in my opinion, it's not to their benefit. You can agree, you can disagree. I'm not saying that you need to send out this very standard blanket, no useful information is actually included, COVID-19, email with that in the subject line. I'm not saying that's what's necessary, but having some wording and having some things that you're saying that shows that you're aware of what people are going through and that it's a very hard time for some people, and et cetera, et cetera. I've been using them as examples in my crisis PR class. Says Lydia, yes, to their own peril or detriment, exactly. Agree, okay. Builds trust and community. Yeah, absolutely. So acknowledge the environment. That's first step. Second thing that you're going to want to do is explain what they're going to leave this webinar with. And Ali, if you don't mind, why is it that we encourage people to explain it in terms of what they'll have done or what they'll leave with, as opposed to what they're going to learn?
Because people buy action, they buy transformation. You'd show up not just to learn more information. And that's something we're constantly trying to remind our own audiences. We don't want you to just collect courses. We want you to take action and implement. So show up, you're not just going to learn. What you're also going to be able to do by the end of this boot camp, this webinar, this training is XYZ. Very important to frame it that way, so that even if they don't buy, because not everybody's going to buy, not everybody can buy, but they're still in your audience and you still care about them, they should be able to implement a few things, whatever you've promised to that they'll learn and take away, they should be able to do that. So, promise it, make good on it.
Agreed. Now notice three steps in, you're introducing yourself. And that's because somebody's attention will be held as long as, again, you don't do some unnecessary coverage of what's going on in the environment. But as long as you just are acknowledging the environment and then explaining what the person who's watching live or watching the replay is going to leave with if they sit there and watch it, they're going to be engaged. You don't have to song and dance and do tricks in order to keep them. So you engage them on what they care about. the crazy environment they exist in, what they're going to leave with, and then you introduce yourself and you adjust for the times if necessary. What do I mean? The other day, Ali and I were doing a webinar, and there was a slide that we had in there from when we'd done it before, when the environment was different, and it was talking about some of the different like earnings and things that, you know, whatever. I adjusted the heck out of that slide because some of it just wasn't necessary. It was just like, this just seems egregious, ridiculous, whatever the word that I'm looking for right now during this time. I'm just being honest with y'all. And it just adjusted what we were highlighting, what we were talking about, right? And so and that might be something different for each industry, right? Like there are basic supplies that people are having a hard time getting a hold of. That's something to acknowledge. You know, people are having to worry about older or not even family members and friends. People are, you know, anxious about the state of the world itself. People have anxiety over money right now. So maybe it's not the best time for you to be sharing the stories of your clients who made $2 million in a weekend, versus if you also have examples of the clients who were able to create a few $1,000s or replace their income. Do you kind of understand what I'm saying? It's just adjusting it for the times. Yes, you still helped the person make $2 million in 3 days or whatever the crazy story is. Not the most relevant. There's a difference between like inspiring somebody with data or reality and just being over the top. And I mean, I personally think that's always the case, but it's especially the case now, if that makes sense. Okay, let's see. Okay, sorry, just reading the comments. And so again, you know, and to me, it's just pulling the examples that you feel would inspire your audience in their current environment versus make them feel like hopeless or like, is that even realistic? You'll be able to pull in that $2 million example again in the future. You'll be able to talk about how you paid off all your debt in a day in the future, but maybe for now you can talk about X, right? That is just a thought. All right. So introduce yourself and adjust for the times if necessary. And this goes for any kind of testimonials or whatever you've chosen to share throughout the webinar. Just possibly consider, again, adjusting for the times if necessary. Next is give them credit. The person who is listening, the person who is watching the webinar. What do we mean by that? It might be something as simple as, I am so honored, you know, that you have decided to take 40 minutes out of your day to watch this training on blank. You know, you are already a blank, you know, a brilliant, creative idea person, that you even have an idea of what, you know, a screenplay that you want to write, So you're already doing this. I just want to come along and help with this. You're already amazing, doing something that most people will never do, but by deciding to start a business for yourself. So you've already done so much of the work. In this session, I want to help you do blank. You're an amazing, you know what? I don't understand how you parents do it. You're already doing such an amazing job on a day-to-day basis, helping to supplement your child's education. And now you're in this position where you are the school, you are the education. You're wanting a little extra help. And that's where I can come in. You know, I was working in the school system for 10 years, and now I'm going to show you how to, whatever it might be. That's not my story, by the way. It's just giving them credit. This can be statements like, you're already blank, you know, like some less like cheesy or version of like, congratulations, you want to build, you know, a business and be able to provide for your family. That's maybe not the best way to word it right now, right? Like, it's like, hey, I'm honored that you're here and that you would take X number of minutes. And just let me say that, you know what, you're already on the right track. Just the fact that you're even thinking in terms of, you know, what can I be doing? This time is so challenging, but if I can work out like an extra, tweak out a few minutes per day or a few extra hours per week to build towards something, that would be super meaningful for me. So you're already blank. does that make sense, right? Some level of giving them credit. And I think in this give them credit moment, it would be really great if you could say something that truly makes the person feel seen. It's super basic if I just go, you're amazing, you love your children and you want the best for their education. Go team parents. Like, all right, I didn't feel anything from that. So it's more like letting them know, man, they're seen. Because let me tell you, most of the stuff y'all are teaching, and including the stuff Allie and I teach, man, no one's handing out awards for this, right? No one's I was about to say some words there, y'all. No one's freaking applauding you for the time that you sit up at night, stay up all night and work. You put your kids to bed and now you have time to write your novel. No one's handing out awards right now. And a lot of times it's pre-customers paying you, or you've built something that customers have paid you for before, but you're doing work on something that's not directly tied to income right this moment. There are no awards, there's no applause, there's no, there's little support, there's no gratification for a lot of what y'all teach your customers how to do, right? Like, yeah, okay, cool, you're gonna switch to working out at home every day and here's some body weight exercise. They don't have somebody cheering them on every time they show up to do their workout. Okay, so making a comment that's giving them credit and also helping them feel seen for something they're doing that's probably goes unrecognized for a long time, until all of a sudden it's an overnight success, until all of a sudden, they, were able to get their body in the shape that they wanted to, and they're posting before and after pictures or stats on their overall health or whatever. All of the sudden, no, man, they had a lot of weeks/months of not being congratulated or given any recognition, right? So if that makes sense. Julie says, I think genuinely expressing that you're there to serve and acknowledging that you're being affected right now too, right? But as in as positive a light as you can goes a long way to building trust. That's so great. Somebody says, I love this, but it says, I follow an entrepreneur who's shamed instead of giving credit. Come on, I hate that. See, if you would have started your business before, you wouldn't be in this position. I'm sorry. I know my face already says my feeling, but I feel like it's gross and it's so not recognizing the time. But let us move on, because I'm trying to not throw any shade during this current time frame. Current environment means Regina has to stop throwing shade. Okay. So now, guys, where are we at in the webinar? You already let people know you'd be offering something. You did that in the landing page or the email. As soon as you came on, you acknowledged the environment that they're in. You maybe even shared a personal note that's not too sad, right? That's not gonna have the person in a majorly
and by like not censoring, but by being mindful of what you're sharing, you're honoring their own emotional state. Like some people might be fragile, right? You're like, I'm going to give you something with hope. I'm not going to put you down the edge. Like, just be very empathetic here.
Yeah. So you started by acknowledging the environment. You explained exactly what they're going to leave with. They're going to know how to do this versus you're going to have done this. You're going to leave with this. That's different, right? Okay, anyway, you get the point. Explain what they're going to leave with. Then we introduce ourselves, maybe had to adjust the introduction for the time as necessary. Then we gave them credit. And it's real and it's heartfelt. It doesn't have to be sappy. It just shows them you actually are seen. You yourself, you the person listening, I do see you. Now that you have built them up, you clapped for the thing that doesn't get claps. You showed them like, hey, you're already doing this. Okay, cool. We built them up a little bit. Now we've taught our first point. We're teaching our first point. After you teach your first point, okay, you hop into the teaching to just get it going. After you teach your first point, you can optionally now explain who this class is best for. So you can make your first point and then you go, hey, by the way, like, we're about to get into this, and this. Just so you know, this is best for you if you are currently blank, if you're wanting to blank, if you need to blank, right? So now you're kind of doing the who this is for, who this is not for, after you've already kind of gotten some momentum going. And if, again, to be sensitive, you don't want to do a who this is not for session, since, listen, they're already on your webinar. So okay, so just highlight the positives. Like, this will be a great live training for you, or if you're watching the replay, you know, on demand training for you if you want to do X, Y, and Z. All right, now you get into really teaching your content. Maybe it's a third, maybe it's just a quarter. You just do a portion of your content, and then either remind people if you told them about the incentive before, maybe on the landing page or at the beginning of the webinar. You're going to incentivize them to stay until the end. This might be because they get to download a copy of the slides, a copy of a case study that you created, a special template that they can literally use later that day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So right now, we didn't say it, but your incentive to stay till the end was you could literally just screenshot this one slide right now and leave, and you would have a really great outline for a sensitive webinar. But anyway, all right, now we're going to teach another portion. Maybe it's half, maybe it's another third. We put here optionally break people into groups. Y'all saw that we did that. This is now adding a definite 100 million% community connected element or portion of your class. So cool. We just learned something cool actually during the breakout that we hadn't seen happen before. So we actually had y'all in the breakout rooms. And just as a note, if you're using Zoom, you can do it a way where you manually put each person's name into a room, or you can have Zoom. You can just say, hey, listen, I want 4 to 5 people in each room. You do it, Zoom. Okay, so you can do that. You could open the breakout rooms, but something we just saw that was cool was somebody was able to actually indicate that they needed our help. And I or Allie can actually leave and go to that person's breakout room and talk to them, see what was going on. Oh, hey, I can't hear my group mates for some reason, blah, 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 and fix the problem or help them go back to the main room. Does that make sense? So you can actually, and just in general, y'all, which we do at times too, you can actually hop into the different rooms. Like, let's say you have a smaller thing, you only had 5 rooms and you'd given them a few minutes, 10 minutes. You could actually hop into each room for 2 minutes, and you yourself as the facilitator, you know, have conversations with people or whatever. Okay, you guys get the point. The next thing, I didn't know you could join a break. Yeah, absolutely. Isn't it so cool? Okay, sorry. Anyway, the next thing that you'll want to do is explain how real people implement what you're teaching. This can be a story about you. This can be a story about a client. Again, you might need to adjust for the times if necessary. How do real people implement this stuff? This could be something as adorable as showing, you know, people's going and grabbing user-generated content, really. Sort of. Anyway, going and grabbing people's images from Instagram who started your balcony gardening or windowsill gardening boot camp. They did your windowsill gardening boot camp, and they have the first sprout of their herbs or whatever. And then you encourage them to take a picture and post on Instagram with a certain hashtag, maybe even incentivize them because you were giving a gift card away or something like that. So yeah, then you go on Instagram and you find the 3 people who've done it, the 23 people who've done it, and you make a slide that shows, look, this is how real people are growing their own herbs indoors during this challenging time that we're in. And you can get started with my ebook called blank. Anyway, you guys get the point. Explain how real people implement. It could be something as simple and as cute as that. It could be a longer personal story that hopefully has some kind of visual to assist it. It could be a client mini case study. I like to make them little, like 1-page, 2-page, 3-page tops case studies, et cetera, okay? How are real people implementing what you're saying? And again, really great opportunity to adjust it for the times. Then you're gonna teach the last portion, whether that was that you had a quarter of it left, you had a third of it left, teach the last part of your content. We're transitioning by explaining that you created something to help them go further, to bring in the support and community element during this time, to whatever, because you're going to be explaining you created something and you're going to be explaining the why you created it. And you can actually be explaining the why before you even hop into the pitch. So I'm going to literally, this is your meta inception moment. Allie and I are going to tell you about a program that you can join us for. But what I would do is transition into telling you the why. So right now, we do have an instance where it's not the most logical thing to make multi-$1,000 offers, like premium price point offers for the first time, or whatever. And a lot of our friends and colleagues who are selling premium offers are seeing a huge decline in sales and are having to let go of people in their business, et cetera, because they can't really support their expense level with the sales that are coming in of their premium price point programs, right? So we realize that, and which part of our messaging has never been, go premium or go home type thing. And again, please just understand, I'm not saying that anyone who teaches premium programs is wrong. What I'm saying in this moment is we know that they're not working like they used to for most people or for a lot of people. So we have that in mind, and we have a lot of other things in mind. So I would start switching into the why of the thing before I even explain the thing of, you would like to have a sensitive offer that you've created that again is paying attention to the times and is at a price point that makes sense for you. Like, you're not going to feel bad if you sell it for X $100 or whatever it might be. It's just, it makes sense for you, and a price point that makes sense for people. Okay, I'm going to maybe talk about that. I'm going to maybe talk about the fact that you'd like to get this offer up in the next few days. It would be great if you could do that, because if you can start building an audience and selling this offer at the same time, it means that you're not looking at making income on this thing in 30, 60, 90, 180 days. You're looking at a shorter time frame, and that's important right now. So I would start to talk about the why we created it, and even why we're adding a live element to it. I will say a lot of what Allie and I do has a live element anyway, 90% of it, or maybe all of it that we've ever done together. Allie, I'm not sure. But anyway, why there's a live element, why it's a compacted time frame, why we're doing it April 1st through 7th versus April 20th, because you need to get it done now, right? So I would start transitioning to the why before I've even fully explained the product, and you can do the same. Then is to show the thing. This is in your webinar, show it. And when we say show, we literally mean show and tell. You're going to do some talking, but if it's a course, they should see the dashboard of the course, or they should see a mock-up of the checklist or agenda that they'll be following. They should see what they're about to invest in. Again, being sensitive to the fact that people have to be even more so than normal. If you already have an audience that's careful with how they spend money, you need to be even more careful. So showing them more of what they're getting gives them a better visual, gives them more credit for being a smart person who can figure out whether it's a good product for them or not, right? Instead of being all secretive and, okay, we're going to do this mind-blowing, lessons and stuff, and not really, like, no, man, like, let this person be an intelligent person, see what they're getting and see if they like it or not. Test drive the car, see if it feels good or not is the equivalent, right? In this instance, right? So you don't have to tell people that it is the best thing ever for them. If you can show them what they'll be getting out of it, what they'll be doing, what they'll leave it, you go, okay, never mind. I'll stop sounding so crazy passionate. Anchor. So price anchoring is what we're talking about here, and then adjust for the times. And Allie, do you mind explaining what we mean when we say anchor?
So price anchoring is a psychological tool, but it's also just smart, letting people know the value. So you could say, one-on-one, I charge $2,400 a month for this service. Obviously, now I'm going to teach it to you in a small group setting, so you're going to get more value, and it's only, $149 for this thing. So you've acknowledged the higher price point, and that's where minds naturally go to, and then they're going to adjust, and it's going to seem like even greater value. Anything else? Are you catching up in the chat there too?
Yes, you You did. You guessed it. Sorry. Okay.
I know. I always
Um,
like. There's so much good stuff in the chat.
yeah, agreed. So like Ali was saying, that anchoring is finding that price point to anchor people at. A lot of times we've seen people do it like, you know, other XYZ types of brands in the industry charge Y amount for this, or yeah, like Ali said, when I help people one-on-one, this is it. Or you could literally just be honest and say like, hey, listen, before the downturn in the economy, before we were in the situation we're in now, this is how much I was charging for this, or this was what my team planned to launch this at, and blah 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 blah. So you can do that type of anchoring, or you could simply anchor like how probably a little close to how you might normally anchor, like, hey, if we were working one-on-one, this is what this would cost, but we're doing this as a group program, we're doing this as a weekend boot camp, blah blah blah, and you're adjusting for the times. So you can either be just straight up about it, or you can just say, hey, like I realize that it might be helpful to have a payment plan. So here's the actual price. They're already anchored at 2,000 or whatever the price is. You show the actual price, and let's say in this example, you anchored them at $800. The real price that you're going to charge is $300, and that you said that they can actually do, payments of blank for the next 3 months, or payments of blank for the next 4 months, or something like that,
You see
right?
it, Lydia
Okay.
has said here in the chat too, that she says, y'all teaching me about anchoring seriously has impacted my sales and conversion rate. And I've got the data on it if you want it. She split tests. She did split tests, so the copy was identical because she didn't believe us, which is totally normal. You question everything, everybody. Don't take
Uh-huh.
anything at face value. So I tested it, and you were right. Oh, yay!
And she says, now I question nothing. I love it. Okay, that's so funny. Yes. So that is okay, wait, I like Julie's question too. First off, Lydia, thank you for offering that information, right? Split testing, copy was identical, just changed the fact that on one thing that you anchored them at a higher price and then introduced the price, and on the other one you didn't, is what I'm assuming. And it worked. Great. Thank you so much for including that. Julie says, is there a recommended strategy to the anchoring so that it works best, especially if I have not offered the actual thing before? I love this question. So just a general rule that Ali and I will always say, and that is super important, or else this won't work, IMO, might actually decrease trust. Oh, perfect, Lydia. We would love to see that. It might actually decrease trust is if whatever you use to anchor is completely ridiculous, or if you do value stacking in order to anchor, and what you do is completely ridiculous.
Yeah,
What
false
is
value
value stack?
stacking makes me ill. It's like, well, this
Yes.
replay of this is actually worth $12,000, and I have
Yeah.
seen that before.
Yeah.
Somebody who was she was selling a $50,000 mastermind spot, but the stacking was like, I don't trust you anymore. I've lost your credibility. You've lost credibility with me.
So
Oh,
let's
the word
explain these
anchor. What
terms
is
really
that?
quick. Yeah, let me do an explanation. I'm really glad you asked that, Victoria. So two things that we're talking about. Number one is value stacking, and when we say value stacking, it literally means adding the components of something together to get a full price. So on a car, if you've done car shopping before, you can literally add this type of alloy, blah 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 tires, this type of sunroof, blah blah. Sometimes I build cars on these expensive car websites for S's and G's, y'all. I'm not buying these cars, but anyway, right? So you can see how much each of these things are worth, and now you get why your car is all of a sudden way too expensive or whatever. Or people, when they're selling a course or a program, they might go, live access to weekly group calls where you get your questions answered for the next 4 weeks. That's worth $300, they say. Lifetime access to, a set of 20 tutorials, teaching you how to blank. That's worth $500, they say. So now when you add it all together, this course could, plus the workbook, plus this, could cost $1,250, but it's only 700, it's only 300, it's only whatever. So the big thing with price or stacking, value stacking, is that any of those things that you're assigning individual value to, you're not doing the crazy, like Ali said. I've seen people when they are selling their summits, they're like access to, you know, expert sessions with 20 different, you know, experts on blank, and then they price that at $14,000. I'm sorry, please show me the person who has ever paid $14,000 for the recordings of 20 interviews. Actually, I'm sure that actually has happened, but you know what I'm saying? Most people, I just don't take it seriously anymore. These 20, I'm not going to pay $14,000 for 20 recordings of interviews, for the most part, right? So don't price the individual thing at that. So that's with value stacking, it's important that the components that you're adding together are logical. With anchoring, what we mean when we say anchor is to set somebody's mind at something. So you're going to anchor them at the price point of, if we were working together one-on-one to get this done, it would be my $2,400 package. This service starts at $2,400. So now we are anchored at the whatever I just said. Sorry, I started reading the top, 2,400. Okay, but then as I talk about it and the fact that it's a group program and that you know, we're able to help, we expect a lively community of 30 people, whatever it is, and then I let you know the price is only you know, $250 for the time being, then you're like, whoa, cool, because your mind was anchored at, this thing costs $2,400. Exactly. Yeah, you can, during this time, you can absolutely say that it's because of this time that you're doing something. That makes sense. And then also, I think Tanisha brings up a good point, which is another problem with value stacking. So then let's say you have stacked all these items together and you added them all together, and this program should legitimately cost $5,400. And all it wasn't like you overestimated, it really added together to $5,400. Well, then don't tell us your program is $97, only because that's a huge hop. And again, starts to create that, and maybe that's not even a big enough whatever, but you'll get the point. It creates that, well, if you're saying that like legitimately you should be charging $5,400, but you're charging $97, I'm not, my mind isn't really, you know, working that out, right? And so you might consider maybe having that number not be so large, whatever, disparity. All right, where was I? Sorry. Okay, show the thing. We were talking about showing it, and then we said anchor and adjust for the times, and then offer. Share the logistics of the thing. Here's how you purchase it. Here's what's going to happen after you purchase it. Share the time frame. This starts on this date. This will be released on this date. Or, hey, we're going to get this done in this amount of time, but don't worry, the community is going to be open for 30 days after that, 90 days after that, whatever it is. And then the bonus thing that you're doing to adjust for the times. Normally, I, you know, sell weekend boot camps, and we are live for the weekend, and then the community is open another 7 days for people to get it up. During this time, we're keeping the community open for 90 days, and I am also adding small pod calls, blah, 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 you know, or you can add on one-on-one calls if you want feedback. Normally they'd be $250, but you can actually add them on for just $50 if you want to at the end of this program, something like that. What's the bonus you're giving to adjust for the times? Pose a question. This is optional, but we recommend posing a question that helps people think. A lot of times in webinars, you'll see people do a statement instead, and they'll go, listen, you only have two options. You can either keep doing stuff or keep doing things the way you've been doing it, which is not working, or you can join my program. That's the special magical two-option thing, which we do not use because the person has more than two options. They could join somebody else's program, they could DIY, they could spend some hours on YouTube figuring out how to do it themselves, they could they have unlimited options. So don't insult somebody. Sorry, if you've ever done that, okay. For me, it's a little insulty of my intelligence. That's just my personal take on it. Because I don't only have two options. I don't either keep struggling and never achieve goals in life, or take your $5,000 program or $50 program. Those are not my only two options. So instead of doing that, we recommend posing a question that helps the person arrive at what they want to do next. It helps the person arrive at the next best step for them, which a lot of times is going to be your program, is going to be your offer, if your offer has been adjusted for the times and makes sense and is valuable and will help them with a meaningful goal. So some questions, and maybe if you have any that stick out to you that you've seen in classes, you can type them in the chat for sure. But a lot of times, you know, Allie and I will even pose a question of kind of like the emotional cost of something, right? Like for especially for our clients who teach more personal development type stuff, you know, what is the emotional cost, or what is the productivity cost, you know, of continuing to do things the way that you're doing them? It's not saying the only option to solve this is now my program, but it's just asking somebody to go, hey, listen, I don't need to tell you the pain points. I'm going to, right? Like at different points during the webinar, maybe. I don't need to tell you your pain points. I'm going to ask a question that helps you arrive at the fact that there's something you want to change or do, and you want to change it or do it now, starting now. So you'll pose a question like that. Now you'll re-offer whatever you offered. So you offered it, you shared the logistics, you did this, there's a bonus. Then you posed a question that you got them to answer, and then you re-offered. And then you share the incentive that you said they get if they stay till the end. Hey, here's the link to download this case study I told you about. Hey, here's the link to continue on into the after hour session or download my free audio course that you only get if you stay till the end. When you're switching now to answering audience questions, we would recommend switch back to a slide on your screen that shares your whole offer. So in our instance, it might be this slide where we're showing what it is you're getting, and then we're answering questions on the screen. We're not going to do that today, but that's just something that we would recommend. If you want our help, and then the collective wisdom of our group, if you want guidance on, number one, getting people to your webinar that's going to sell your product, and then also creating and launching and selling a boot camp or workshop, then we have a program for you. It's called Launch Your Online Bootcamp This Weekend. And the subtitle there, and grow your audience while you're at it, is there because we have sessions that are just about growing your audience, just about getting people to your webinar, where your webinar would help you sell your boot camp, okay? So, and actually, y'all, I am telling you about this program in real life, but I will actually say this slide is a good example of summarizing what people get, right? It's 1, 2, 3, your eyes want to read all the things. If you have numbers on a slide, people want to know all the numbers, right? So number one, you're going to get a tutorial dashboard that covers the 15 steps of launching and selling an online boot camp. I'm about to show you what those steps are. Number two, we have 7 days of live classes, April 1st through 7th. That are solely set up with different targeted sessions that are going to help you design and launch and then sell the boot camp. You can ask questions, you can come off of mute, ask questions specific to your situation. Some of the live sessions have co-working built into them, you know, where you're going to break out into smaller groups and get feedback from the people who are there live. But yeah, live training, you can ask us questions. Third thing is a private community and co-working opportunities during the live week, April 1st through 7th, and even beyond that. Okay, why would you want to host an online boot camp or workshop? So a lot of you at the beginning, you already said, hey, this is what I'm planning on creating, or what I want to offer, what I want to sell right now. So first off, what is one? An online workshop or an online boot camp can be something as simple as a single session, 90-minute class, 60-minute training, 2-hour training, or it can be multiple sessions, right? 3 1-hour trainings all on one day. 2 2-hour trainings broken up over 2 days. Did I say that right? Anyway, you guys get the point. We've done them when they're 4 days before. We've done them when they lasted a couple of weeks. We've done them when they're 1 day. You can help customers accomplish a key goal during this training or set of trainings is the idea. So they were able to start their first home garden. They were able to sew a simple dress. Did they get to plan out all their business content for the next 3 months? Did they create a whole new resume? Did they learn these specific advanced poker strategies? Did they learn the basics of investing and actually open their first blank account? Did they write a short story during that time period? Okay, right? So something specific. Boot camps and workshops are best when it's a project-based thing. They will leave with something done. Or maybe they leave with a roadmap for how to get something done, a very specific plan for what's all the content that my business will create for the next 3 months. What is da-da-da-da, okay? Why would you do it? Okay, it means first off, you get the idea that's in your head into the market quickly, into the hands of customers quickly, because boot camps are designed to be announced as soon as you have you've solidified the idea. Sometimes when I teach, I speak English. Sometimes I don't. So you get the idea out of your head and into the hands of customers. You're going to get valuable sales experience. Y'all, if you can sell and learn how to sell right now in the current time that we're going on, learn how to frame your content as valuable and meaningful right now, that's going to be, I can't even put a price tag at all on that experience. Number two, in this point, you're going to validate your concept, right? You'll know whether the offer is valid or not because paying customers let you know, hey, this offer is valid. You're going to save time because you're not going to be waiting to compile everything you know into this really massive signature program. You're going to instead choose to help people with a goal or something that can be done in a few days. If you do have that larger product in mind, that signature program, you can build some of the content for that offer by doing a boot camp. And guess what, guys? Let's say you have a 10-module course in mind, or let's make it an 8-module course in mind. Guess what? You can do a boot camp in a couple weekends that is, in essence, 2 of those modules. Next month, do another boot camp or another 2 boot camps that knocks out another 3 or 4 modules, and so on and so forth until you fast forward 3 months and you've been making money with weekend boot camps all throughout, and then all of a sudden you have your full program. And if you want to re-record some stuff, tweak some stuff, combine some stuff, maybe when the economy starts to shift, whatever, blah blah blah, you'll have the program. And then of course you get paid while you're building, and you get testimonials while you're building the larger offer. These are the 15 steps that are going to be in your tutorial dashboard. These are added 2 days after the lives. So they're technically already there. We're making some tweaks to them based on the current time that we're in. But you'll see them just a couple days after the lives. You'll see these 15 steps in your dashboard as tutorials, right? Some of them are text-based, some of them have video to go along with them to kind of show you exactly how to do what each of these steps outlines. And also, y'all, these are the 15 steps of launching an online boot camp. So feel free to take a screenshot and or to grab these when we send out the slides. Sorry, just checking the chat as well. Okay, cool. So then really quickly, the 7 days of live boot camps. And Allie, if you want to type the link into the chat if you are ready to actually join us, Allie will type that link into the chat. So the 7 days of live group classes, you get lifetime access to the replays of these. You get your specific questions answered live if you're able to come live. As you've seen, what we'll do a lot of times is create these smaller private breakout rooms so that you can get key work done and you can get feedback. And so it's a smaller room, so there are a few people in the room as opposed to 100, right? And so so I think we have about 100 people registered right now for the overall class, right? And so even if, like, let's say half of that number come live, you have 50 people live, that would be a large room size for some of the exercises, so we break you into even smaller rooms, okay? But you can ask your questions of us as well. And then you'll be able to download the slide decks for all of the individual classes, so that if you want to just refer back to a quick point without wading through 60 minutes, 90 minutes of video, you can just refer back to the slides, okay? So the classes are the following. First off, there's nail your messaging, and this is specifically the framing and marketing and messaging around your boot camp, around your offer, and why people should buy it. So we're gonna help you refine that and then create a free sample, or some people say lead magnet, opt-in, whatever. Create a free sample of what you can do that help incentivize people to sign up for your email list, sign up for an interest list for your boot camp. So we'll help you do that. Then we are going to show you how to build and launch your boot camp with free tools. We will also cover some inexpensive tools, but we're going to show you, so I should say, it'll be free and inexpensive tools that you can use to actually build out and launch your whole boot camp. And what's not there, but hopefully is implied, but I'll say it's probably not implied, is there will be simple tools to use. So it's not just free because it's like, looks like it was designed in 1993 and it's hard to use. We're going to show you free and inexpensive tools that are also simple to use. So even if you're a little not so in love with tech sometimes, it should be simple. On Friday, it is Sell Your Bootcamp with Sensitive Webinars, and it is the expanded version of today. And we'll actually not cover some of the stuff we covered today because you will have already theoretically seen it. But what we'll do is get into a few more format, layout, and example slides for your webinars and just give you a template, basically. In essence, what is a template as far as, in the same way you kind of saw here, like what slides to do in what order, kind of like that, but you'll see some more options, okay? Saturday, create the collateral, and this specifically we mean the visual collateral, the marketing collateral that you need to actually promote your boot camp. Will you be using GIFs? Will you be using mock-ups of your agenda? What will you use visually to promote your boot camp? And then the last 3 live classes on Sunday, Sell Your Bootcamp with a Powerful Email Sequence. So we'll go through actual, again, formulas for those email sequences, formulas that work really well to sell, and it will be, it's not said there, but it will be in a sensitive way. Monday, use Instagram for free to get people to your webinar. Free strategies that really work. Anyone who did our larger Instagram class with us, you can maybe type into the chat that it does work, or you don't have to. I mean, only type that if it did. And then on Tuesday, the last day of lives, we are talking about how to use Facebook and Instagram ads to get people to your webinar. Okay, so all in all, it's the 15-step course dashboard that's going to help you plan and launch and actually sell your boot camp, your online workshop boot camp. There are a lot of ways you can frame it. Intensive, I used to only say lock-ins or weekend lock-ins. Allie, you like sometimes to see like online retreat, things like that. So it's the 15-step dashboard, the 7 days of live classes where you can come ask questions, get work done, and then the private community, okay? And normally, yes, we would charge $500 for this. But we have literally adjusted for the times. I will be honest with you. And Allie is going to put into the chat again that URL if you would like to join us inside the program. Okay. And then let's see here. Perfect. Thanks, Allie. Let's see.
Can we just, Anne just put in the chat here, it solidified for her, and she just distilled it so beautifully. I'd like to read that really quick. She says, I see the flow now. A free sample / incentive, a freebie, leads to a free webinar. We'll call that our sensitive webinar, to teach people now and sell your paid boot camp, which leads to your paid boot camp, which in the future, you have an audience. You can either lead to more boot camps or your signature program in case the world changes and you can offer that premium product. That was great. If you all want to copy and paste that, how she distilled that, she's like, I get it now.
I am happy about that. Thank you for sharing it as well, Anne. I definitely copied that. Screenshot it. Okay. That's exactly right. Sorry, I was reading the chat, but now I'm reading the what Anne said, and that is, you got it. That's dope. All right. So that that's all for today. That's what we wanted to share with y'all. I hope that you enjoyed your time with us. I hope it was worth the time investment. I know that that was a little bit longer, but y'all probably know I talk a lot. Um, let's see, hold on. I will answer a few of these in the chat. It's been so nice to spend time together. Helpful and motivating. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. So Kim expressing like, hey, I don't have an email list. Is this going to work for me? So the idea is that some of the live sessions and some of the dashboard itself that you get access to is about building audience at the same time as you're building towards selling this boot camp. So if you don't have an audience for your current topic, like you just pivoted or you're just starting from scratch, maybe yes, that means that you're not going to be selling or pitching to 2,000 people on your email list, you know, that you get within a week time frame. Not saying that has not happened, and not saying it's not possible, but so yeah, maybe you don't get to pitch to 2,000 people. But I do remember like the first time I created a similar product, which is not on the slide, so that's funny, is in your dashboard as soon as you join, you can actually download 2 case studies that we have in there already. They're 60-page case studies, both of them. So sorry, I see that some of y'all are joining right now. I'm seeing notifications on my phone. What I didn't tell y'all is that it doesn't start on April 1st. It actually starts now. You can download those case studies. And one of them, in answer to your question, is a case study about when I first started, and I had like, I think literally, I don't know why I said I think, I remember it was 71 people on my email list. So I built my list to 71 people and launched, and you can see that in there. I think the first month it was like $1,350 profit, and then I think about $1,000 per month after that first month. Sorry. Okay, so you don't need to have your audience in place beforehand. You and Allie always give so much that it's easy to make a pro. Oh, this is so timely. I can't wait to get started. Thank you so much, Sandy. Okay, perfect. Allie, was there anything else? And will you put that link one more time? Sorry. Thanks for being, oh, that is so sweet. I can't even read that out loud, KT. It's so sweet. Thank you.
So yeah, we totally stand by it. I feel amazing about this product. If this is a good time, check it out at least and decide. Oh, Marv, I always open your emails. They're so helpful.
Thank you. I know we write the long ones sometimes, so we appreciate that. All right, y'all.
Are they the longest in your inbox? I'd be curious if anybody says.
I know. Are they? And Allie, did you copy the email address from our winner of the gift card? Okay, perfect. So then we'll have that.
I'll send that to you.
Perfect.
Thank you for spending your Saturday, and if you're on the replay, thank you for sitting through. This is a robust 2-hour masterclass, but I thought it was amazing.